Hello, beautiful, amazing, fantastic world. I'm you, beautiful, wonderful individual you. Today, I would like to speak about practicing elegance and gallantry, holding oneself to certain everyday practices to make it stick over time. Of course, when we start doing this, one might perceive oneself as silly and looking stupid and all of this. But in the end, it is purely bias, and every single thing look a little silly and a little clumsy in the beginning. Think about the ancient rulers and kings and queens of old. The reason for them being leaders of countries and groups and masses, if we should say it like that, is because they were initiated. Think about their extensive, extreme royal training. Their training in walking correctly, having the right posture, speaking correctly, having the right knowledge, holding oneself to standards, morality, and so on and so forth. That is initiation. They had to be trained to become rulers. Today, every single individual human beings are kings and queens and high priests of the divine. It is all about us as individuals working towards it. Of course, the interests and areas that we focus on is highly variable from person to person. But these types of practices and trainings everyone can do. It is all about if you have the interest for it, if your intentions is correct with it, and what you will do with it. If you only do and practice this to hold sway and power and dominance over others, you obviously are not tapping into the divine hierarchy. Then you are following along on some temptation you should stay away from unless you want to have your ass bitten. Of course, by no means do. This is obvious when you really think about it. It truly is. Also, are you an animal living in an animal hierarchy, or are you a human being, spiritual, divine human being? Always striving towards higher and higher perfection. But also deepen. Reconciling and acknowledging one's own weaknesses and where we do not necessarily are the best, and if we focus on them only, or if you are focusing on your strengths, because as we say, every single one is, we are covering each other's backs by having these variables, these likes and dislikes, these extreme variations of interests in life. And if we are truly looking and using our faculties for observation and understanding, you will always find the silver lining, always find the reasons and the place for these forces and impulses, Holding yourself to the practice of walking correctly, speaking correctly, holding posture, thinking, using your faculties to stimulate and stir your inner being to a degree where it is actually helpful and practical to not only materialistic, physical, comfortable life, but also to inner spiritual comprehension and understanding in general. That requires practice. It requires us to accumulate and assimilate and absorb reasons. That means studying from books and from experiences, from anything life has to offer, because we have not the longest of lives here. And we have come from a long line of lives. We have been in the Indian civilization, the Persian, the Egypto-Chaldean, Babylonian, and the Greco-Roman. And now, well, we have gone through all of them, and now we are different again. It is not a chain of events that just ends up being like this. The changes in the spiritual divine realms is very drastic sometimes. So let me use an example. Although these mythology is that this universe will cool down and just be still after a certain while is not a reality. You see, this physical material substance that are around us will fall away, yes, but we will continue our spiritual development. Just like when we pass, we leave our physical, etheric, and astral body behind, and our spirit moves, well, to the divine realms for a while to study, practice with higher beings. We also go through a lot of karma and so on and so forth, but it is an existence beyond death. Of course, if you deny yourself that, then, well, it is a highly limiting way to live, because once acknowledging that there are life after death, life gives meaning, life gets meaning at all, and we strive and we work towards perfection. Better being safe than sorry, I say. So, if you wasted your whole lifetime becoming a better, more loving, nurturing human being, well, and there is no after, then that is alright. You did your best. You behaved the best you could. But what if? Do you really want to have that on your tailcoat? Coattail? I wouldn't, personally. It is all about not be afraid to look a little silly, to look stupid, to have your own inner understanding of things that you have worked upon, that you have grown, that you have practiced, studied, and grown from nothing. From, well, manure. It has come from shit, you know? But what came out of that shit? A beautiful lotus flower, or any kind of flower, or any kind of plant that truly gets nourishment from painful experiences, the silver lining. So, no matter what happens, no matter what experiences we have gone through, it is important to not become a victim. Once you become a victim is when you lock yourself in a certain box, you know? You cannot, you wish justice for, you know? But you waste your time on it, where you could have grown, developed, and strengthened your own inner being. You waste it on outwardness, on outward situations. It was just an example. Don't get me wrong here. There are far extreme situations that it is understandable, and we do not blame anyone for it. But where are you going to go with it in reality, in practice, in everyday actions? Because it affects our everyday action, thoughts, and feelings. So where is our focus? Where is our intention? And holding to the practices, to the principles, without dogma. Being flexible in certain areas, because certain areas change us extremely fast. But other areas we should hold strong to, because you would feel far worse with yourself if you do not hold yourself to those self-imposed restrictions and rules. This is in freedom, of course, so no one forces anyone to do anything, but I think the effects and what comes out of it in the end is speaking for itself. And it is all about holding to those things. I personally love to do this. It is about loving the self-imposed rules and laws you hold to yourself and loving it. Because you know that if you broke your own self-imposed restrictions, you would feel far worse than you would otherwise. Because you know, yes, we have freedom, but for Pete's sake, do you want freedom to be a pure rascal and scoundrel? Or do you want freedom to grow, to develop, to communicate correctly, to have everyone in your vicinity, from individual to individuals, have a win-win situation? You wish everyone to succeed. This dominating competition style is pure bias, and it is an instinct that is animalistic in nature, and we human beings overcome animalistic tendencies. That is our job, that is our practice. because we are not human, we are not animals, we never were. We had animal-like forms, yes, but we have never come from an animal, ever. Animals were incarnated and came down to this physical existence before they were fully ready. We stayed in the spiritual world longer and developed our soul spiritual faculties longer, so that we, in physical form, had different realities than animals. You see, animals crystallized down and became their instincts, became their longing, their passion. That is why you see anteaters eat ants. Elephants are, well, I am not very well versed in what elephants eat. I think they eat a plethora of things, but you get my drift here. It is about their instincts and their longing to be their specific species. We human beings don't have that restriction. We don't. Unless you impose yourself with that restriction. It is all about tapping into that spiritual, what is human, your ego, your I am, your individuality, your capability of comprehending the world around you, being creative, imaginative, using your inner faculties to change yourself and the world by changing yourself, because you move forward as an example. You don't have anyone that kicks you in the ass doing this. You do this because you love doing it. And that is what true inner strength is. Self-choice, the choice to do what you feel is right. And even if the whole world were ridiculing you, you still do it. Because you know it is the right thing to do. You know it is the right thing for you as an individual. It is your path. And others can do other paths. Nothing wrong in that, mind you. But what do you focus on? What do you choose? What do you do every day? Are you obsessed with others and what they do? Are you obsessed with whatever troubles and problems and pains that always occurs and are distracted by that? Or do you take it as, well, signs and lessons that there are certain faculties we should cultivate so that we can in the future prevent, or not directly prevent, but overcome these hindrances? We cannot prevent things from happening, but we can overcome them. And experiences are meant, well, to enlighten us in certain areas of what we want and what we don't want. And I believe you have had a plethora of experiences that are both, well, in detriment and in advantage to you. And I'm sure you wouldn't want the detriment. I'm pretty sure you would want the love that comes from these things. And it is about holding yourself to, when you feel something, experience extreme pains and sufferings and such, you go through it like a man or a woman or a person, and you find a silver lining. Or you can be bitter, or you can blame. We have choices. We have practices we can sustain. So, I will leave you with this. Thank you so much for listening to me. You beautiful, beautiful individual, human being, you. May Father, Holy Spirit, Christ, Michael, ancient masters of all, ancestors from every incarnation, bless, protect, guide, and love you on your amazing, beautiful path to becoming more and more human being, more and more compassionate, understanding. Love you, and thank you. Goodbye.